Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to UC Tech. My name is Isaac Manquita. We're going to get started, and I have the great pleasure of introducing Antonio Nava and Stewart McMaken.
There you go.
Chris Hergert is on the side there, and we have also Darcy Fraley, who's logging in remotely.
Say hi, Darcy.
What's up, y'all?
Oh, hybrid.
And thank you for showing up for this session titled Hybrid Meetings. Let's address the elephant who might be in the room. A couple of housekeeping things. I'm going to be here in the front monitoring chat. This is just where the power is. You're welcome to move closer. There's going to be some participation. And I'm going to turn it over to you all to get us started.
Yeah, important learning outcome. He said it's where the power is. Metaphorically or literally, even in the literal sense, he had an outlet he can connect to.
Yes. My apologies.
He'll be watching our chat. Thank you, Isaac, for the intro. Welcome, everyone. We're going to be talking about hybrid meeting facilitation. So whether you're thinking of a PowerPoint presentation you have to give and it's going to be hybrid, or a brainstorming session, or a team meeting, or what the case is. So some tips and tricks and thoughts about how to make those successful if you find yourself in a situation where you'll have to run one. Let's see here. All right, so a little bit of table setting, right? What the day is going to look like. We're going to give you some information. We're going to examine a use case. We're going to have a pretty interesting fishbowl exercise for folks to examine. We're going to tinker in a tool, so you're actually going to get some opportunity to hands-on a little bit here. We're going to actually get to work because we're not necessarily the experts in this. We want to know what thoughts you have. So we're going to do a hybrid session about hybrid sessions. And then we're going to do a report out. So we're going to do a recap of what came of the day. So a little bit of table setting. It's important to let folks know how they can interact and what to expect. We say participation across the nation, so no seat is safe. I don't care if you're the two folks in the back seat over there, or if you're... To the folks in the Zoom, somebody hollered out, "We'll participate, don't worry," in a very convincing manner. And to the folks in Zoom, where are my cameras? We're going to be asking for your input and participation as well, so please be ready for that. To that end, if you are in Zoom, please use the chat function. We know there's a QA section. We'd prefer you not to use that. We have one person watching our chat sort of consistently, so the single chat input is going to be the best place for it. Work appropriate, please. We might need to say these things out loud. If you're in the room, raise your physical hand if you'd like to add input to the meeting. If you want to shout out and heckle, that's fine. It costs you $5 though. And I'll try my best to restate, as we saw a moment ago, anything that is said in the space for the benefit of the people who are in Zoom. If you are in the room /hybrid, so we have a couple of ideas around this. There are going to be some hybrid participants. Darcy's one of them. We want you to make sure that you are muted, your speaker's muted, to make sure that we don't get a bunch of feedback and my tinnitus doesn't act up. I'm also going to ask everyone here, as well as on Zoom, hold me accountable. So as a facilitator, to whatever extent possible, if I don't do something I said I was going to do, hold me accountable to that. So the things that I want to do, myself, Stewart, Chris, and others, we're going to do our best to engage folks, not only in the room, but also on the Zoom. We're going to repeat questions or statements as they're said or asked. We're going to read out what we can in the chat. We're going to try to be as inclusive as we can throughout. I also want to include the name of the people who share. So to the young lady in the red who heckled me a moment ago, what is your name? It was her, not me. What is her name? Jessica. Thank you, Jessica, for that. And yourself? Allison, thank you. So Jessica and Allison were so gracious as to heckle me. All right, so... By the way, thank you, Jessica.
This is not the first time that Allison has had to cover for Jessica and get blamed for things she said, by the way.
We're going to try to have some fun here today. So thank you all for that. So hold me accountable to those pieces. Now, we've all participated in different kinds of meetings, right? So often this is what happens. They're not super productive. You have meetings, and nothing really gets done. So we don't want that to happen. Ideally, you'd have some sort of structure. There would be introductions if it's a new group. You do some table setting. What are we going to accomplish today? What are our goals? You would present maybe some sort of content, right? Try to get people interested in what it is we're all talking about. You'd have them do something. I mean, in my eyes, if you're having a meeting with people, you need something from them. I need you to take away a piece of information. I need you to give me a piece of information. I need you to something. So it's really important to identify what that is, give them some sort of activity to generate those ideas and start to synthesize them, and then adjourn, have an action plan afterwards. So don't end a meeting and go, that was great, bye. You should have actionable steps for people to take if there are any actions needed afterwards. Hybrid meetings. I don't know if anyone gets this reference. It often happens that participation is uneven. So people in the room might be able to say or contribute or ask something or interrupt, whereas the people in the Zoom maybe feel like they can't, or they're bound to the chat and they would love to come out and just ask a question, but they don't have the opportunity to, or I didn't see the hand raise function. There's a lot of reasons why it's not great for facilitators or presenters. It's also not great for participants. So it might feel a little bit like this when you are a facilitator. Let's see if this works. Oh yeah. So to those of you who didn't get the reference, right? Yeah, anyone feel like that? Raise a hand, put it in the chat. No, you don't have to. Really the point here is we don't want you to be afraid of it, because sometimes you have to. It's made me really sad in a lot of ways to get excited, because I get excited about in-person engagements. Hey, we're gonna go in person, we're gonna do this thing, and then one person says they can't make it. Maybe they're an important person, somebody like Stewart, or maybe they're an unimportant person, somebody like Darcy. Darcy's in the Zoom right now. But it happens, right? If one person says, oh, I can't make it in person, what's the default action? You don't, well, it just ends up going virtual, right? It ends up going virtual, which it loses something for the people who wanted or feel better about or are better with in-person engagements, right? So there's something tactile, there's something to be gained from having them. Sometimes you have to have them. And really, it's really, really, really important to not be afraid of it, because something happened in March of 2020, I don't remember what it was, but we all had to go remote. And there were a lot of processes and a lot of things that people said could not be done remotely, right? They just couldn't fathom a way to do it. And look where we are now. A lot of those things have been proven to be super successful. It just took a lot of growing pains. So my hope is that you'll come away from the end of the session believing that hybrid facilitation is the same challenge, right? We don't have the same burning platform that we had before. But really, if you want to do, or if you have to do hybrid facilitations, it's not something that is impossible. So let's go ahead and do some exercise. I need 4 volunteers, people in the room.
4 of you are going to come up here with me.
1, 2, don't tell them that. Their hands raised, come on up. You're gonna sit, you might have wondered why we have microphones up here. I need 2 more.
Welcome to our fake meeting.
You won't have to do a whole lot. I need 2 more.
Awesome.
Thank you, in the back.
We need the Price is Right
One more.
music for
Thank you.
this.
Come on up. Okay, I would also like.
Okay, for my guinea
Yes,
pig,
please,
come here
have a
real quick.
seat.
I need to powwow with you real
Oh
fast.
yes, you're gonna be given some instruction. Also to the people in the Zoom, how many people do we have in Zoom? Do we have any idea of?
Thanks for coming up.
32 people in Zoom. Hey, that's exciting. How many of those people are watching cat videos? Do we have that piece of data? Is anyone hearing the sound of my voice aside from the people who have to because they're in this room right now? That's okay. So to the people in the Zoom, the people in the room, you're gonna be able to just watch. You're gonna be watching, you're gonna be the cat looking into the fishbowl for the moment, okay? We're gonna do a little bit of a hybrid engagement. We've got Darcy as a remote participant, and then to the other people who are the 32 people in Zoom, if you want to try to contribute here and there in the chat, you're more than welcome to. Do we have anything interesting, Isaac, in the chat that should be read out loud? Darcy's watching cat videos. Thank you for validating
There's
that.
always that one guy.
Okay, so here's our fishbowl exercise. We're gonna do a hybrid engagement. We have at least Darcy and maybe 32 other people remote. So let's go ahead and have a conversation. The chosen topic, why do meetings fail?
So who called this meeting? Oh, I called this meeting. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, we're supposed to talk about why meetings fail.
He said ironic.
Yeah, Yeah, that's really sucks when you got people on your laptop in the room. I totally agree. Yeah, no one should do that.
Don't we need those laptops?
Hmm?
Don't we need the laptops?
I do.
Timeout. All right, timeout. Freeze. Look at our actors on the stage. All right, you can relax now. What were we observing? What was the problem here? There's no agenda. Thank you. What was your name? Sarah says no agenda. What else? People in the chat, feel free to put things in the chat. Isaac will read it out on your behalf. All right, we don't have what we say. We don't have a facilitator. We missed identifying somebody to sort of lead, monitor, control the conversation. We forgot someone. It's really important to have a facilitator, especially in complex meetings and brainstorming sessions. But if you're looking at something like hybrid, we really encourage you to identify at least a person who can be that neutral voice, who can hold space for people, who can sort of call and pull and push the conversation to make sure something's actually happening and avoiding rabbit holes. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the conversation now. Stewart, would you please be our facilitator?
All right, thanks so much for being here today, guys. So my name's Stewart. I'm gonna be running our meeting today. I'm not sure if everybody knows each other. Could you introduce yourselves real quick?
Yeah, sure. I'm Gary. I'm a Ruby developer at UCRI.
Great.
My name is Dana, and I do like Canvas and EdTech stuff.
All right.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm an academic technologies analyst at UC San Diego.
I'm Derek Stokes. I'm at UC Santa Barbara as technical services manager in the telecom space.
All right. Derek, Adam, tell me again.
Dana.
Dana, Gary. All right, Derek, Adam, Dana, Gary. Okay, so yeah, here we're talking today about why meetings fail. Like, we've all been in meetings that don't succeed. We all have opinions on why they don't succeed, like that one jerk on his laptop, right? So yeah, talk to me. Dana, tell me why, like, what your meetings where they don't work, right?
Oh man, the one that really resonated with me was the rabbit hole. I saw that on the PowerPoint, and I feel like a lot of the meetings that I participate, there's just two people who want to talk about something more in detail, and they just go down and down. And so all the other.
All right, time out. What are we missing? Where did we mess up? I see a hand raise. Time boxing answers. Time boxing answers. What is your name, sir? John. John, thank you. What else did we miss? You got the names of these 4 participants. Thank you for volunteering. Oh, you can unfreeze. Sorry, thank you. Whew, I forgot about that. Yeah, committed. I love it. I see something, a hand raised in the chat. Go ahead, Isaac.
There's no introduction of the Zoom attendees.
No introduction of the Zoom attendees.
Oh, Zoom. Oh yeah, I probably should have had a Zoom link for this. Right.
All right, yeah, so who, we got a Darcy and a couple other people. Can you send them the link real quick? Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know
okay.
if he even has it. Oops.
Yeah, okay, I sent them the Zoom link on the meeting. Yeah, my
Okay,
bad. Yeah,
awesome.
okay.
Sorry, thank you for doing that.
Okay.
Just make sure that, you know, let's take a look at what our learning objective is here. So have the Zoom link ready. Have a screen in the room. Thank you, we have that. So something that, you know, if you're sharing the screen or you know, showing some sort of content, people in the Zoom are seeing the same thing that the people in the room are seeing. Test the audio visual ahead of time. Darcy, can you do me a favor? Can you unmute and let us know, I don't know, how's the weather where you're at?
Tony!
He can't say my name without saying it like that. I don't know why.
It's beautiful in
Thank
San
you for
Diego.
validating.
Now I want to do that.
Stewart!
If you, by
It
the
doesn't
way,
work as well.
useful tip, if you're in the room, so if you have a bunch of people with laptops and you're doing a hybrid session, make sure that they mute their computer speaker, not just their microphone and audio, because if you don't, that's when you get a lot of the feedback from the multiple mics and multiple speakers in the room. So test the audio as you're doing some sort of icebreaker, you know, like go through and make sure everyone says hi, including the people in the Zoom, that sort of thing. Okay, so now we have confirmed Darcy's in the Zoom.
Right.
Awesome.
Sorry about that, Darcy. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. So I've got some sticky notes here. So everybody take some sticky notes, right? Right? And got some Sharpies, some pens, right? Okay. So here's how we're gonna do. We're gonna brainstorm here on why meetings fail as a group exercise. So what I'd like you to do is you're gonna take an idea, right? And every idea is one sticky note, okay? And then we're gonna take the sticky notes, we're gonna put them here on the whiteboard, and then we're gonna group them, okay? All right, okay, so I'm gonna do some too. Okay, we're gonna have 3 minutes, okay? No Zoom link.
Oh, I see some things in the chat. Go ahead, Isaac.
Yeah, we have a question is, how can we participate in the Zoom?
Okay, so let's go ahead and do our timeout. Timeout. The question came in through the chat, it sounds like. How can we participate in the Zoom? Well, thankfully for this session, we have somebody monitoring the chat. But you can unfreeze. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Whew. I keep forgetting. We didn't rehearse that part enough. But bring back up. So that means not just a facilitator, but somebody who can monitor the chat, somebody who can make sure that if things are coming in through the chat, they're able to put it through. We've thought about how the people in chat are going to, or in Zoom, are going to participate at all. I apologize, folks in Zoom. So bringing support is not only bringing people support, but try to bring some sort of technology. How are you going to transform from sticky notes to something else? So we, one tool that Stewart and I really latch onto is one called Lucid Spark. It's very similar to Miro or Microsoft Whiteboard, a couple other tools. So Stewart, do you mind creating a Lucid Spark board?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
Lucid, right.
So
We should
we
have just done Lucid. Right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, okay, so no, here we got a Lucid here. Okay, so everybody log into the Lucid. I gave you the link, right? And then we're just gonna do some sticky notes. So you can see here we've got it, right? So what I want everybody to do is just go and put sticky notes and then group them, and we're gonna see our ideas that way, okay? Okay, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go ahead and start the timer, 5 minutes, okay? All right. So I'm gonna, what's going on with my Lucid? Great. Turquoise? Yeah, I'm feeling turquoise.
I'm torturing our co-facilitator. I gotta freeze. Okay, you can relax yourselves. I see Isaac is struggling in his chair. He's like, I don't know if this is part of the show or not. What do you got over there in the chat?
We have the control room asking folks to get closer to the microphones because they can't hear you.
The control room is asking folks to get closer to the microphone.
That's probably me.
All right, let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
What went wrong there?
So they're also asking for the link for participating on Lucid Spark.
Hold that thought for a second. That part we didn't forget.
Okay, so there's a question in chat about the link, and I want to make sure that I'm being fair to the folks who also are in the room. So thank you for giving me that one. I'm going to pop over. I saw a hand raise. The participants, do they know how to use the digital tool? I love that. So we don't even really know. I mean, even if we had given them the link, which, oops, and even, that's okay. We haven't shown them how to use the tool. So are we back at our deck? Can you click into the actual?
Oh, sorry, yep.
Thank you.
I told you you'd have to tell me when I forgot.
No worries.
Yeah, there you go.
And then Ian, if you could make sure that we're in the right one, because that doesn't look like my screen. You're gonna see a very subtle difference. There we go. All right, we timed out. Teach them how to use the tools. So it's not enough to just assume everyone knows how to use, like, oh yeah, it's easy. You just go and you add sticky notes. Give them some opportunity to figure out what the actual thing is. It's kind of like holding a crayon or holding a marker, right? If we give you sticky notes and you're writing something, you know how, because you spent decades of your life probably holding a writing implement to be able to add to a sticky note. But maybe you've never seen this tool before. You're afraid of clicking on something and breaking it, that sort of thing. So we're gonna do that now. Stuart, if you do me a favor, open up Lucid Spark and give folks a quick little walkthrough of how to use Lucid Spark.
Oh, I should show them how to use it. Oh, okay, all right. So yeah, this is a virtual whiteboard tool. We're gonna pretend you guys have laptops for a second. Okay, so this is a virtual whiteboarding tool that we use at UC San Diego. We've got a site license. It's called Lucid Chart. There are other tools, Miro, whatever. They all do basically the same thing, right? So you'll notice here, I've got a zoom. I can zoom in and out, right? I can move my cursor around. If I hold down spacebar, I can grab the screen and I can move the whole screen around, right? And then the big thing here that we're gonna do is we're gonna put some sticky notes. So over here on the left, there's these various icons. And one of my icons here is a sticky note icon, okay? So I can grab a sticky note and I can drag it out here, and then I can change the color. And then I can just click on it and I can type, stuff. You can also edit other people's sticky notes, not just your own, okay? And if you need to lock something where the people won't mess with it, I don't want to change my stuff, right? I can come up here and I can lock it. So now that doesn't just move until someone unlocks it. Anybody have any questions here on Lucid or how you might use it once you're in here? This is a sincere question now. I'm only half pretending.
Do you have anybody in the chat?
Anyone in the chat have some questions about Lucid before we give you the link and let you play with the tool?
Not yet. They were just suggesting confirmation from the lead that everyone understands the task and the tool,
Right?
and maybe give people a chance to write a test note.
Yes.
Yes. So there's a message in the chat about being able to write a test note. If you can go back to our deck, please.
Yeah. That probably wasn't even Darcy. That wasn't our plans.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
So let's everyone, including the folks here, you can actually use your phone if you'd like to go to bit.ly/3ptkd7j.
Y'all can see it down here on the teleprompter.
Yep. Go ahead and grab, yeah, please. You'll be able to access this board. This is a practice board, so you're all welcome to go ahead and go to this board now, whether you're in the room or in the Zoom. This should work on your smartphones, so you're more than welcome to go in. You'll see a couple prompts on there. What I want you to do is go ahead and just try it out. Double click on the screen, try moving around, put your name. If you'd like to put a sticky note that has your favorite movie on it, maybe try putting a tag. It's a little price tag symbol. If you click on your sticky note, a little control bar pops up. There's a little price tag symbol that pops up, and it gives you the ability to tag. We set up a couple for different movie genres. If you do me a favor, grab that link, plop it in the chat, and then pop over to the practice board.
Oops. Oh, did
Darcy put it in the chat. Look at
Hey,
that.
look, Darcy did something. Thanks, buddy.
Darcy, you are useful. Okay, so hopefully everyone had a chance to, or is currently tinkering with it. Go back one slide.
Me? Go back.
I got it. Too many cooks in the kitchen. I gotcha. So this is the practice board. We're gonna give everyone another minute or so just to tinker.
Yeah, so
see
feel
it.
free to go in, move some stickies, put them around, play with the tool a little bit.
I have a question in the room. Go ahead. You should not have to request edit access unless you've interacted with our boards from OSI more than 5 times. If that's the case, if anyone in the room or in the Zoom is seeing that, try going to this link in a different browser or in a private browser or incognito. That does come up from time to time. Are there other questions in the chat or in the room about just tinkering in Lucid Spark, sorry. Am I up for some feedback?
About Lucid Spark or about our presentation?
Oh yes, so that's actually one of our learnings for later. We probably should use QR codes. No, you're absolutely right. What is your name?
Same Sarah.
No, you're fine. And that's part of the point of this session, right? We're being subtle and subversive at the same time as we're being obvious, right? We probably should have put a QR code up. It's better that I at least did this as opposed to the big long link that I have to drop in the chat. And there's another thing I'll show you later. There is something in the chat, please.
Yeah, in the chat, somebody's suggesting or indicating that we need to bring HTTPS /
Somebody is suggesting in the chat that we need to put HTTPS://. I don't know if that's actually the case. Is it? That would be new to me.
I don't.
Oh, it shows that it's a secure link. Thank you. What was your name? Allison, thank you. And who was in the chat that gave us that comment? Sam, thank you for contributing to that, Sam. And
Is it telling everyone you need edit access?
Yeah, a single person's done it.
Okay, cool. So,
there's not a limit, at least not in the way that we have it set. Thank you for that question. What is your name? Paul, thank you, Paul, for the question. There shouldn't be a limit for how many people can contribute to the board. We're gonna pivot over to the other board anyways, so I wouldn't worry about it just for the moment, and they can tinker on that one. So
Okay.
Do me a favor, pop over to the Why Do Meetings Fail board.
sure.
Not that one.
Okay.
That one, perfect. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue our fishbowl conversation with our participants here. If you would like to, you can just tell Stewart what to add onto the board if you're having trouble accessing the board. But we're gonna continue the conversation. Go ahead and add Why Do Meetings Fail? I wanna see what we come up with. What do we have so far? Is it you calling me?
It's not me
I'm
calling.
getting a phone call. All right.
Yeah, are you getting a call? Yeah.
For the recording, all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so let's do this for real this time. So if you have it on your phone, go ahead and pop in here,
Or did you
right?
wanna swap?
I thought,
I forgot which point we swapped at.
I think we swap on the next one for the
Okay, go for it.
countermeasures. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead if you all are out there, go ahead and come in here and say, why do meetings fail, right? Give us feedback on why you think things are why they don't work, because we're gonna talk about things you can do to make them not fail here in a moment. If you're in a group, you can either put it on the board, or if you're having trouble making it work on your phone, write it on a note and give it to me and I'll put it on the board, right? And I guess you guys aren't seeing the board on the screen. So one of the places where this is kind of artificial, we're doing the TV show table where no one eats with their back to the audience, right? But normally when you do a meeting like this, you want to make sure the screen is where the people in the room can see it so that you're also seeing what your remote participants are seeing. But this is staged. So we're going to give people a minute here to pop in some stuff.
Yep, you need to share this other link.
Okay.
Can you drop that one in the chat, please?
Darcy, can you get the next link in the chat for me?
Yeah, I just dropped it in the chat for everybody. Let me know if that doesn't work for you.
Thank you. It's like Tank.
So one of the learnings as they're doing this is don't freak out if something goes wrong,
Yeah.
if it's a little awkward, if it's weird. To any of you who are right now going, oh my God, this is clunky, imagine yourself up on the stage right now. And everyone gives you a little bit of grace, because they know that. At some part of it, I think everyone knows that this is not something that is natural or is going to be super it's going to have some road bumps, and people are very forgiving for that sort of thing, for the most part. Except for all right, so
Okay.
Stewart, what do we got?
All right, so what I've got no clear direction or action items. I've got unclear outcomes, absolutely. I've got testing, which I suggest means you did not test ahead of time. Technical difficulties derail our agenda, absolutely, we're seeing some of that. Agenda items, that could just be an email. Yes, this is a cliche for a reason, right? Most people just complaining. I'm going to give you a segue here. You can use that. People want to complain. I don't want to stereotype. People at the university love to complain, right? Channel that negative energy at the beginning. If you know they have complaints, if you're coming into a meeting that you want to run where there's a lot of built up negativity, start with that, right? And say, hey, what sucks about our old system? And let everyone vent at you. You get so much useful information out of that. They get it out of their system. You get to start negative and then slope towards the positive at the end where they felt like they got it all out and now we're talking about the positive stuff. So you could use that. Not interactive, so it's boring, absolutely. Facilitators that did not introduce themselves. Hi, I'm Stewart, that's Tony. Okay, am I missing any big ones there? People don't feel motivated enough to speak up. Absolutely. That's another thing you can do as a facilitator. You can call on people, right? People talking over each other. Again, this is a thing that's part of your job as a facilitator, is trying to make sure people are listening, that they're engaged, that other people have a chance. People typing over my sticky. That's cute. Unclear, no set end time. What was that? Okay, great.
So we have enough that we can affinity map, which is going to be the next step. If you can toggle back over to the slide deck, please. Okay, so we gathered some ideas around why meetings fail. Let's get here. Okay, have a plan. So the amount of rehearsal that went into this is more than what it looks like, maybe.
That's true. We practice this a lot.
But it paid off. Had we not rehearsed this and talked through it and really thought through and process walked it, this would be a very different experience for all of you. So hopefully you're getting something out of it. You can tell me after in the hallways. But really important things to think about. Why are we having this meeting? Where are we having this meeting? Who are the participants? What do we need from them? Oh my goodness, I actually misspelled plan on my slide deck, didn't I? Or did I? Have a plan. I kind of wanted to see who was still, have we lost people in Zoom? Are there fewer than the 32 we started with?
No, we're gaining.
We're getting, yes! We've had people who have told their friends about this session and they're joining now. That's awesome.
The message they got was, wow, there's a train wreck happening. You should come see it.
And you all get to be on stage with me. Okay, so have a plan, do your best to execute the plan, but a lot of the planning stage comes with how much time do you have? How much tech do you have? How many, how comfortable are people with the tech that you might be using? What's the topic? Do you have the right people in the room? Who's facilitating? Who's your tech person? All of those things, they all kind of tie together. So now's the point where we're going to swap here. We're going to get hybrid. So I'm going to do a little bit of affinity mapping.
So now we're going to make Tony run the session. And he's going to show you what it looks like when you do it well.
Hopefully. All right. Thank you, participants in the room at the table for joining us today. Thank you, folks in the Zoom also for participating. Thank you to the 40 or so folks that we have. Thank you to the people in the room who are sitting in these nice comfy seats. I apologize that we don't have refreshments or anything like that. We're going to get hybrids. What that means is we're going to all be participating. We're going to give some feedback on the board. What we're going to do is we're going to use this. First, I want to validate real quick. Do we have, to the people in the Zoom, do you have access to this board? Because I heard earlier we had some issues accessing the board. So I'm going to drop this in the chat once more. And let me know. If you are in the room, please access this board. It's a different board than the one I gave you earlier. If you are in the Zoom, please access the board, place in the chat, or just come off mute if you're able to. Let me know if you're able to, or if you're still having access issues, because that'd be really unfortunate. Folks in the room at the table, if you'd like to, on your phones, pull up this board, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I'm happy to add your sticky notes to the board as we go along. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start by taking a look at the board here, and I'm gonna see if there's any themes. So just kind of going, so not showing compassion, technical difficulties, people don't feel attendees, kind of technical, no time limits, not including all participants, Zoom attendees, people just complaining with no solutions. I love that. One quick little tip. I know this doesn't work for folks who are using the app version on the phones, but if you're on Zoom right now and you're using the Windows, or sorry, the browser version of this, you can click this little top bit up here, and you can say "Don't show cursors," and that'll get rid of a lot of the movement on the screen that gets a little distracting. Let's see what else. Not interactive, so it's boring. Ooh, that's not fun. Are people complaining about the boringness? Unequal access to technology. I'm going to put that over technological difficulties. Not enough Home Alone 2 picks. More people complaining about not enough Home Alone 2 picks. For the moment, by the way, don't add additional stickies. Okay, so this for everyone. We're affinity mapping, which means what we're doing is we're taking the ideas that have been shared. And what's great about this is that somebody like myself, somebody like Stewart, we are not afraid to just say something in a crowded room, right? Whether it's right or wrong or silly sounding. Our ideas are not always the best. And sometimes the folks who are more reserved, who are shy, who maybe would be cameras off in Zoom, or who maybe would not have volunteered bravely to come up to the front, thank you very much. Those ideas, we need to find a way to elevate them. Right, so really something like Lucid Spark or like sticky notes or putting things in the chat. There's a lot of different ways that we want to encourage you to get your ideas out and up, and this is one way to do that. Let's see here. People don't participate. I want to say it's not interactive. Unnecessary people invited as required. Feeling alienated on the Zoom. Okay, I have a couple themes. So I'm going to say technological difficulties and unequal access. Not everyone participating. Complaints and no solutions. I'm going to move these back into participation over here. And let's see here, people not speaking up. I'm going to do that one. I know that's kind of similar. So people not feeling motivated to share. I'm going to put that as one category. Technical difficulties is going to be another category. Not including all participants, not being interactive is another one. And then complaining with no solutions is another theme. So these are our 4 themes over here. I've moved them over to the right of the board. If your name, your last name, starts with A, B, C, D, E, or F, I want you to start adding more sticky notes up here next to people not feeling motivated enough. So we're doing a hybrid interactive. Everyone in this room, I'd love for your thoughts on this, because again, we're not the experts on this. For the next few minutes, go ahead and add to there under why maybe people aren't motivated or what you can do to counteract that. For GHIJKL, you're going to be adding sticky notes around technical difficulties and unequal access. So add sticky notes next to that as a theme. So that's G through L. For this boring, alienated, not interactive piece, MNOPQR, so you're going to add sticky notes next to that. And then most people just complaining, no solutions being given, that sort of thing, not forward moving, S through Z. So for the next few minutes, I want to see what we get. Go ahead and add whatever you'd like. Let me take a look in the chat here. Error 404 for the bit.ly. Oh, good call out. Thank you, Monica. Put it in the chat. For the bit.ly link, it has to be, you have to follow the capitalization. So for bit.ly, for whatever reason, caps matter. So it has to be lowercase bit.ly/ and then it's capital NDPZGD. So if anyone was having difficulty with that, thank you for calling that out in the chat to Monica.
Freeze. So there's some good stuff that Tony's been doing here, right? He was very clear about their objectives, right? He's telling people what to do. He checked the chat and saw the comments. He's staying calm as he's going here, right? Everybody see this? This is what you're supposed to do. Looks like this. Okay, you can unfreeze.
I don't know about that. One of the other things that I like to do is put music on. So as people are putting their ideas, I like to have some sort of thinking music in the background. I also would invite folks in the chat. If you wanted to add things to the chat, you're more than welcome to. I feel like I'm seeing less than I'm seeing in the control room chat. Is that the case, Isaac? Interesting. Okay, that's fair. Okay, so let's see what we have in terms of ideas. Okay, limited amount of time. Don't want to take it up. Lack of scope or goals for the meeting. Creating breakout rooms. Not putting in breaks. Not giving enough time. Oh, actually, that's one of the ideas here. Provide agents ahead of the meeting. Agents, does that mean to the person who added that? Is that, oh, agendas. Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you to the participant in the space who provided clarification around that, this agenda. Awesome. So the countermeasures would be put in a time frame, like making sure that everyone knows how much time. So I probably should have said we're going to do this for the next 5 minutes. There's also a feature in this tool that I could have put a timer on to say, hey, everyone, for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be quiet. Y'all put whatever you'd like, and then actually everyone would be able to see the timer go. Or I could put a song and say, hey, by the end of this song, we're gonna move forward. Putting in breaks is a really good one. Making sure that you're giving people the opportunity to take breaks. Let's see here, feeling alienated in the Zoom. Okay, so let's go ahead and pause here to our in-room participants. Thank you very much. You're welcome to return to your seats. You get a fabulous prize. It's a candy bar, a free candy bar. But you have to pull $1.50 out of your wallet and find the candy machine to do it. That's the fine print. There's a gifting policy. I'm sorry, I wish I could. I can't.
Thanks for our participants.
They were not plants, by the way. We in no way prepped them for any of the awkwardness that we just put them through.
They are not vegetables.
I imagine there's a lot of people in their rooms right now. Laughing hysterically, hopefully, at the poor souls who had to come up here, including myself and Stewart. Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint deck if we could. We're at 40 minutes. We're about halfway through, Stewart.
Yeah, we're doing good. We all having fun? Okay, all right.
Here's some belabored woos in the room. All right, what about Zoom? Are people in Zoom enjoying this? Put like a thumbs up reaction or something if you haven't yet watched a different cat video or checked an email. How many reactions do we have? We'll give that a moment.
I can't actually see that.
There's a lot of no's in the chat, Tony. Is that no, you're
No,
not having
they're
fun?
not having fun.
Thank you for your honesty.
People are messaging me
no,
directly,
no,
Tony.
they're not
left
watching
and
cat
right.
videos. I'll take it that way.
Okay.
Cup is half full. Okay, so
I like
let's-
the enthusiasm to come in and type, no, I'm not having fun.
Yeah, hey, whatever works. Can you click on the PowerPoint, make sure that I'm
Yep.
checked in here? Okay, so we met, as I mentioned, we practiced and we rehearsed and we talked about what are some of the things that we thought might be super useful in addition to the stuff that we've already covered, some of which include icebreakers. They're not universally beloved by everyone, but they're really important for a couple reasons. One, you get to know the people in the room. You get to know what their skill sets are, a little bit about them, but also for the people who are remote or hybrid, you're testing out that they know how to use their microphones, that they're not going to get that weird feedback. You're sort of ironing out all those weird bubbles at the beginning of your session. You can use something like LucidSpark to do your icebreaker, right? That's one way that you can get people to start practicing in the tool, whereas at the same time, getting that icebreaker piece out of the way. All right, Number 2, microphones and mutes. We have a ton of microphones here. That's great. Thankfully, we did bring support. We have a couple folks who are here helping us with the audio levels and the like. But if you have, again, multiple laptops in the room, make sure, big takeaway here, that you ask everyone to mute their actual computer, which is the little speaker that's in the lower right of your, if you have a Windows, the control bar. If you don't silence that speaker, that's when you start to get a lot of the weird feedback. I usually bring on-ear headphones, open-ear headphones, Aftershocks. I'm not selling them to you, but I love them for pretty much anything, any of my meetings that I do. If I had them right now, I'd be able to hear commentary from the Zoom and walk around if for whatever reason we didn't have room audio like what we have now. One of the takeaways for us is if you have one microphone, it's a lot easier to navigate than having a ton. So sometimes there's this feeling that, oh, if we just had more tech, it would be better, it would be easier. Sometimes having the more tech makes it a little more complex. We actually did a little bit of fidgeting here before the session and realized a way to screen share that was less clunky than we thought it was going to be. So thank you. Dynamic cameras, owls, are those ones that have like the camera that does a 360 thing. Those are pretty cool, as are the birds. If you don't have access to one of those, one thing that I've done a couple times, I just log into Zoom in my phone and turn on the camera, and now everyone can see, sort of you've got a dynamic moving camera through the space. We didn't do that for this session, but we perhaps could have, so the people in the Zoom could see who was all in the room and how many of them are awake. If you have one of those fancy cameras, you can have, how like they have those remotes where you can like move them around the room and you can like point them at whatever. There's a setting in Zoom that allows participants to take over that camera and move it around the room themselves, which I think is really, really cool. So if you have one of those in your space, look at your Zoom settings and look up far end control, because that's really, really, when I've had to be remote, I've loved being able to say, wait, who's actually talking, and being able to feel a little bit more like you're in the space. Oh, breakout rooms. I think we've all seen them. I don't know that we've all experienced them done well. The instinct is to just create a room and throw everyone there. If you know who your participants are, you can actually pre-assign via Excel and a couple other fancy ways who's going to be in which room. Another cool tip is that you can actually relabel the rooms and allow people to pick for themselves. So if you have 5 different topics, as we had here, we could have said, hey, pick a Zoom room and go to whichever room that you'd like. For those of you who are wondering how I did this, it's just a screen recording and a GIF that's posted on top. But you can change the timer as well. It's another thing that I like doing to give people 60 seconds, 30 seconds and the like, let them know that you're going to wrap up and close out the room so that not everyone gets yanked out of the room in the middle of a conversation, but they have a little bit of a timer to come back down. What else? Create a roadmap. So somebody earlier mentioned QR codes. Tip number 5.5, you could use shortened links or QR codes. What this is, how I gave a bunch of links. We gave a link to the Zoom and we gave a link to the board and then a link to another board and then a link to some other resource. Y'all might be wondering, I don't know if you actually want them, but if you want the PowerPoint slides, I need to send another link or something for that. If you go to this bit.ly right here, again, caps matter. If you go to that one, it'll give you this map, this process map. All the stuff that went into the planning of this is on the pre-prep board. Our slide deck is on the kickoff box there. Each of these boxes is itself a link. So as you click on the box, you'll be able to go to the actual resource, including the sandbox board. If you wanted to go in there and tinker with it, you're more than welcome to. I'll close it in 6 months or so. The breakout board where meetings are hard, we did our affinity mapping, that sort of thing. We have another activity called complexity scoring. We'll see if there's appetite for doing that in a little bit. And then after today's session, I would love if you put some information on the retrospective board. So what other tips do you have? What other questions do you have? What feedback do you have for this session? This is only the second time we've ever done this hybrid session. I've actually pitched it to like 7 different conferences. And usually the response is, we love the idea. Can you do it only in person? Like, no. Like the whole point is to prove out that hybrid is possible, right? And to test it out, if nothing else, and to see what happens when you're in different spaces, right? So feel free to grab, go to, share, save that link. There's also another set of boxes in there for additional resources, videos, and the like. Okay, so we shared out ours. I want to give now, in true hybrid fashion, I want to give the opportunity for people in the room to give any thoughts on how to make hybrid sessions better, what you've seen work, not work. So we'll start. I'm going to invite the people in the Zoom to put anything in the chat, and then we'll read them out. So I'm going to give some time for that to bucket up. Is there anybody in the room who wants to add, what have you seen done well, not just here, but in any other session that you think the whole room could benefit from? Let's do some collective genius gathering. Anybody? I see a hand raised. What is your name? Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. And please, your comment. Let me get you a microphone.
Yeah.
We actually do have a mic runner, because I'm going to misstate the name of that software, and I don't want to do that. Go ahead. It has to turn it on. We should have tested this app beforehand.
Oh, look. Oh, it's my big voice.
All right.
There's a piece of software called Retrium to run retros. One of the problems with Lucidchart and retros is that you should not see each other's sticky notes before the big reveal. Retrium really helps with that. It's a great little piece of software. It's beautiful to use and really good to do in a retro. I know that's a really hard one to do for people who are trying to hide the sticky notes. We've tried bunches of free software that did not work. So Retrium.
Interesting. Retrium as an alternative specifically for retrospective activities. Is that right? There's also a function in Lucid Spark where you can create breakout rooms. You could potentially create a separate board for each participant and then call them all together. It's not great, but it's an alternative. Which to me brings to mind, working with the people. So like sometimes I'll work with a team and they're very Google specific. So I'll work in slides or I'll work in sheets. Whereas if I work with another team and they're very Microsoft centric, we'll work in teams and we'll do, different spaces. So sometimes you need to do an assessment beforehand with your audience of what are the tools they're familiar with. Other comments, tools, tips, tricks? John, UCLA. John seconds the Retrium. Is it RETRIUM? That sounds correct. Okay, and they're not a sponsor of UC Tech, are they? Okay. Just in fairness, I have to ask. Thank you, John. I'll go to Isaac to tell us what we've been collecting in the chat.
There are no comments yet, no suggestions.
Okay. There is a question. One second. I see a question in the chat. I'm going to hold that for just a moment. Any other tips, tools? I see a hand raised. Go ahead.
Make sure the presenters are able to mute all.
Ooh, giving the presenter the ability to mute everyone else so that if somebody is yammering, you can you don't have to go, can you please mute? You can just mute them. I love that. Yeah. Okay, there is a question in the chat. Question that Tony's asking. Oh, that's a question to the group. Okay.
I think
My
Darcy was
apologies.
making sure that the people there understood what you were asking.
Perfect, thank you. No, they're watching cat videos. It's okay. Okay.
But you do have one over
Hey,
there.
Tony, one other
Please.
thought from best practices. Obviously, leveraging collective genius of the crowd, whether virtually or in person, is huge. And so usually utilizing, you did some of the clustering earlier, but you can also utilize the emojis for likes and thumbs ups and kind of at least get some initial trending of, and obviously stimulate other ideas.
I love that. And your name, sir?
I'm Chris. From
Chris
UC San Diego.
Herger, one of our co-presenters. Thank you. But yes, so to that point, let me get to you in 1 second. Yeah, so there's a lot of different things you can do with Miro and with Lucid and other tools about grouping and tagging and voting and reacting. And there's a lot of different things that you can do that are similar to what we used to do in person with dot voting and putting a check mark and different things. So tinker in the tools. Give yourself some time and some space to learn what the buttons are and figure out how to use them before you go into a facilitated session. I've got one person, two people with microphones, and then we'll hand them over to the lady in the middle. Your name, sir?
Anirvan from UCSF.
Thank you.
One thing I've seen that works really well for certain kinds of meetings is having an agenda doc in Google Docs or Office Online or something, and the agenda doc is just showing the entire time. And that way, if somebody's droning on and on and on, you don't, yes, it's good to time box, but just for everybody to see it is 1:49, this thing ends at 2 p.m., and everybody can see exactly what's happening and what's coming up next.
I love that.
It puts a little bit less pressure on the timekeeper.
I love that. Yeah, because sometimes the timekeeper gets a little awkward to be like, we used to have this thing called Elmo, and it was literally like a red Elmo doll, but then they had it as their virtual background. It was enough, let's move on, ELMO. And there was really, I got to laugh out loud from somebody in the room. It was an opportunity, it was a tool, a way to make it fun for the timekeeper, for the facilitator to be able to stop and like, look, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to make sure that we can keep on the topic or keep moving forward. But the comment, I love that, being able to, as an idea, putting the agenda time-bound on the screen and having it there consistently so that everyone can sort of do a communal support of the timekeeping. Go ahead.
Don't shortchange those roles and responsibilities that you have in those meetings. The timekeeper, the facilitator, the note taker, whether it's the same person doing all three roles, but those roles need to be filled, because the loss of one of those roles will sidetrack a meeting and you'll be off course so fast. Your head will spin off.
I love that. What is your name, sir?
I'm sorry, Sean Paymer from UC Merced.
Thank you very much. I want to give another call out, an emphatic plea to the people in Zoom. I want you to feel included in this. So if you have thoughts on how sessions can be run more efficiently, please put them in the chat. We will read them out loud. You don't have to say it out loud or have a microphone in your face like some of the folks here. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Sarah and I'm from UC Berkeley. And I was just going to say that depending on the topic, sometimes you get really great feedback when you provide anonymous voting or anonymous feedback. Because sometimes people are uncomfortable necessarily speaking their mind, whether it's electronically or in whatever.
I love that. Yeah, making sure that depending on the topic and the group, finding ways for people to be anonymous, feel anonymous, so that they can contribute wholeheartedly.
Can I add a thing there, Tom?
Please.
So, I definitely one of the people that really hated when we all went remote, right? Like, I enjoy the in-person meetings and I feed off those in-person meetings. And I must have run 1,000 meetings like this with the sticky notes and the whiteboards. And when I go through my phone, all the pictures of my phone were whiteboards and my child, right? And then 2 weeks later, I'm zooming in on a whiteboard trying to read what somebody wrote on a sticky note so I can capture the documentation. I have actually found it to be really powerful, really useful to use tools like Lucid, to have the meeting agenda there, take the notes live in the meeting on the document, makes it so much easier to actually, I wouldn't go back now. I never would have made that adjustment, but I wouldn't go back now. Even if it's an in-person meeting, I still have a screen. I'm still doing it in Lucid. I'm still going to do the stickies in Lucid, because you have better documentation and faster tools, and it actually really does work better. If you have not tried these tools, there's a tiny bit of a learning curve, but then it's actually a really powerful thing that makes it really useful.
We've got Isaac, who will be reading on behalf of some of the folks in chat. Please read the names of the contributors, please.
Yeah, we have
And if you could read it into the mic.
We have a comment from Monica saying the note taker, it is so important, but the notes should be sent after the meeting, and I don't see that very often.
Yeah, so often we have the meeting notes and it's like, wait, but is it saved on your desktop? Is it in Teams, right? Where are we contributing? Where are we keeping these?
Yep.
Can you refer to them later?
A similar best practice was someone just say, if you use a wiki at your campus, right, create the wiki page ahead of time, include it in the meeting note or the meeting invitation, take the notes on the wiki page as the meeting happens where everyone can see it. And then when it's saved, they automatically have the meeting notes because it was in the meeting invitation even before you started.
There's one more in the chat. Go ahead, Isaac, and then we'll come to one in the room and then we'll go back to the chat.
So Megan has a question. What tips do you have for team members who are less comfortable working live in a tool like Lucid?
Okay, so what tips do we have for people who are less comfortable working live in a tool like Lucid? So you might have noticed when we had some of the folks in here, so do your best to get everyone contributing in the same way, but also make it possible for people to contribute in other ways. So I said, if you wanted to write it down and then hand it over to Stewart, we'll have him add it. Or you can have another person. We can have Chris. We have Chris here is available as a person. We could say, look, if you don't want to learn the tool, that's fine. What I really need from you is your ideas. And if you super prefer sticky notes, write them down, give them to Chris. He'll create the stickies for you.
Yeah.
It also gives a layer of anonymity.
The other thing there is that the Tony trick that I've seen him do a dozen times, do the icebreaker in Lucid. It's low stakes and it's silly and no one feels weird, right? And it gives them a chance to do it. And then it feels a lot less weird when you do the real exercise later. It really helps.
The microphone's given to a gentleman in the room.
Yeah, sorry, Gary again, Ruby developer, UC Irvine. My question, I mostly have a question for you guys, kind of directly related to what you were talking about with the sticky notes and how you'd prefer to use like something like Miro now, because it's just a superior method of sharing information with people rather than the physical sticky notes and having people huddle around. And it resonates with me because it begs the question that maybe you can answer of like, what is the advantage of the hybrid meeting if you have to do the Zoom part? It sounds like, to me, it feels like it only complicates things.
Yeah.
And it feels like to me, whenever we have to do Zoom, everyone just goes to the desk to go to that thing, and we just all stick to the Zoom at that point, and it sort of robs the in-person. And because I'm like you, I always love the in-person. And then when we switch to Zoom, but does it make sense where it's like, still having the in-person mixed with the Zoom to me just lost both. It just made both worse to me.
All right, so
I'm wondering, what are the
100%.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. So the question, to reiterate it, is why would you do hybrid ever, right? If you got everybody in person, do that. If you've got everybody remote, do that. It's just simpler. Yes, 100%. And actually, like one of the early slides was like, this is hard. Don't do this. But when you are forced to do it, here's how, right? I'm gonna give you 3 scenarios here, right? One of them, I'm gonna pick on Tony, right? Tony lives in Phoenix now. His team is in San Diego. They do team meetings, every month or 2 weeks or whatever it is, right? He's the only remote participant. For the rest of that group in a team meeting situation where you want that bonding part, where part of what you need isn't just to accomplish an agenda, but you need that human connection part. It's very helpful to have everyone in the room if you can, but you shouldn't just be like, well, Tony doesn't get to come to the meetings anymore, right? That does make sense.
Or everyone has to go virtual. Like everyone is virtual in the team meetings now.
Right. Well, when you have the scenario, this is kind of what we did with the thing with Darcy. We all thought we were going to be in person. And then that one person the day of says, hey, I'm really sorry, my kid's sick, I've got to stay home, or whatever Darcy's nonsense excuse was, right? Then you could say, you know what, everyone go sit in your individual cubes or in separate think rooms, and then we'll all Zoom into a thing, even though you're all within like 100 feet of one another. Or you'd be like, okay, let's get everybody we can in a room and we'll put the people in, right? I think it is awkward at first when you're trying to do this, but if you've done it a few times, it's not awkward anymore. People get used to it, and it does help you have that thing. I said I had 3, and I can't think of what the third one was. But I hear you, and I think that often if you know ahead of time, hey, half the people aren't going to be here, it's probably just easier to let it be remote. But there are windows, I think, where hybrid is a necessary evil, and practicing at it makes, just like anything else, you just get better at it the more you do it. Did that answer what you're asking?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Isaac, you have one in the chat?
Isaac in the chat, yeah, go ahead.
There's a tip from Yui Saito about Zoom attendees should use earphones so their voice can be heard clearly.
Yes, so the microphone for Zoom attendees, it's a strong recommendation, and I agree wholeheartedly with, if you have a headset that has the microphone, or at least something that can walk with you like Bluetooth through the room, it's better than using your computer laptop or the screen or whatever you have in front of you, the webcam itself, because if you turn your head slightly, what ends up happening is people don't hear you, and then you come back and then they can hear you really well. Yeah, I love that, thank you. What was the name of the participant?
I pronounce it Yui, Y-U-I, Saito.
Y-U-I, Yui Saito, thank you very much. If we pronounce your name correctly, I hope.
And there's one more from ARJ, it's probably short for something. Clear action items and action item owner is clearly defined.
Yep. So not only roles, but like what are we trying to accomplish? Who's leading? Bless you. Which parts of the conversation? One thing that I want to call out when I'm doing facilitations is I like to have the Zoom, like the Brady Bunch views. So if at all possible, oh my goodness, having an additional screen so that I can see the Brady Bunch views, so I can see the furrowed brows, I can see who's on and off. It's bugging me right now that I can't see 30 people sort of waiting to contribute.
67.
67. We have double. Look at that.
The other sessions must have finished early.
Yeah, and to those of you in Zoom, there's also twice as many people in the room right now.
Yeah.
Not really. Okay, so now let's pivot. Questions. Are there questions you have for us? I know we already got a couple of those, but are there things that you're dying to ask us? Otherwise, we have one other piece.
Do you want to move to the, hold on, sorry, this one?
Oh yeah, so we can really quickly discuss like some of the weird stuff that came up. So, you know, plan as best you can. Stuff still comes up. So we had issues with Lucid Spark. So we started using Firefox a little bit more. I think we've gone back and forth on that depending on the weather. We did the several links to create a roadmap. We showed that, and we've added to it actually. We've used tiny URLs, and I think I'm going to start using QR codes. My apologies, I should have done that for this one. We had some issues with Zoom, which we were able to test out here, but there were a lot of emails back and forth to UC Tech folks, so I apologize, and thank you to the folks who are making UC Tech happen. We have been a thorn in their side because we've been trying to think through what's this going to be like for the people in the room, what's it going to be like. We thought, if you see this picture, we thought this is where we were going to be, like the Zellerbach Playhouse, because that's what we got. We got an email saying, you're going to be in Zellerbach, and we were like, took a look online. That's what we were looking at. We're like, this is gonna be nuts. It's still not ideal because we wanted to have a room where there was like little tables and you can work in little clusters, but we pivoted, right? We didn't know how many people were gonna be in the room. Might have been 5 and 60 people in the Zoom. Might have been 60 people here and 5 people in the Zoom. These are things that you kind of need to at least think about as you're preparing for these sorts of things. So yeah, so that was, was there anything else?
Well, just that, like, come back to the thing. Don't just have a plan. Think ahead. Right? If you know you've got 4 people in the room and 4 people remote, well, what room am I in and who are my remote? And are those the people that talk, right? We were told we were going to be given a theater. Well, the original idea wasn't to have participants in a fake meeting, right? But we're like, well, if we have a stage, well, then we need to stage something or else this is going to be awkward. It's still awkward, but like we tried to make it less awkward, right? So you want to think about what do you know? What are you trying to achieve? And just be willing to adjust whatever your normal plan was, right?
Are there questions for us? That was the next thing we had, and then I have one other thing I wanted to share.
Are we fighting? I thought you're...
Yeah, no, sorry. There we go. We'll share at Lucid, scoring, Tinker for share. This is a recap of what we covered. There's the bit.ly you can use later, stuff that came up. Questions, comments, concerns, considerations, qualms, quandaries, queries, conundrums?
I think we got another one from Gary.
No, you're welcome to,
Yeah,
please.
Can you bring the microphone down, please?
I do want to say too, for those awkward moments of transition or tech issues, I tell dad jokes. So if I ask a question and like nobody answers, I tell dad jokes.
That's true. He tells dad jokes.
So good.
I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on where you see the future of hybrid meetings or Zoom meetings going.
Oh, look at that. We're at a time.
Do you see a future of, and more specifically, do you see a future where VR, AR is more a prominent role? The metaverse, I'll just say it. Do you see any of that having anything other than just hype? And I have a Quest 2. I use it for Beat Saber all the time, and I can't get that thing on my head more than an hour before I got to rip it off. And I see that Apple has the new VR thing. It's like, it doesn't have to be VR, but just where do you see the future going for this stuff as people get better cameras, better mics, better...
I would love to see it get better. I like VR, video games and the like. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think AR could be really big if you're like still in the room and you see, I got Stewart here, even though he's digital and Darcy's digital and we've got 3 other people. Like, I think that would be cool, but I think it's kitschy more than anything else. That might be me being short-sighted and not imagine enough to see what that looks like. But I would love for it to go a lot more immersive. But similar to March 2020, unless there's some really big push, some really like, it has to happen, otherwise it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen. That's my thought anyways.
Can I?
Go ahead.
So in like 2004, 2005, I worked in identity management at UT Austin. We were trying to figure out how to do second factor, right? We had username and password and we're like, we need a second thing. Well, there's thumbprints, but not everybody's computer has them and we can give people fobs and there's all of this technology, right? But it was awkward. People didn't know what to do it and you'd have to issue it and you'd have to do all these things and it just never got off the ground. Well, now we all carry a thing with us that is perfect for second factor, right? The technology became so ubiquitous and everyone was so comfortable with it that now second factor is a no-brainer. Of course they have a device that has secured access that has already authenticated them that you can just install a thing on. I think that's what it's going to take. If we get to the point where people are already wearing their smart glasses and they use them in their day-to-day lives, then it'll be automatic that we're going to pick it up in the meetings. But I don't think it's going to drive it in that same way, right? The technology has to get there, and more importantly, the people have to get there. I make fun of Tony because, you know, he could dial his watch and change our slides, right? Like, there is no gadget he doesn't love. And I am a late adopter. I want it to be bulletproof before I'm going to spend even a second looking at it. I don't want to mess with trying to get those things to work until they are just super easy. You need me to want to do it. If I've already got your silly glasses, well then, oh yeah, let's do it, right? But I think that's what it's going to take.
I withdraw my response to that question. Yours was much better.
Yeah.
No more positive.
I think we'll get there. It's just, you know, it's like all of it. It takes time, especially the university.
Others?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the questions. I appreciate you.
Anything in the chat?
Nothing.
Okay, I've got one more thing.
You want to show the tool?
Be happy to share, yeah.
You're going to use your silly watch to do it? or
No,
you
I
want me to find
gotta be on the deck over here.
it? Okay.
So there's one more resource in the map of maps that you are welcome to tinker with if you'd like. Can everyone hear me okay? And that is, let me get over here. So this scoring complexity board, there's something called a pick chart where you look at high impact, low effort, and you put your ideas on. I took that same sort of concept and I basically said to myself, what are the different kinds of meetings? There's, there's a panel, or there's a brainstorming kind of meeting, or there's a project updates meeting. There's a presentation or a lecture. There's team building and engagement. There's decision making and government. These are different forms of meetings you might have, right? And then within those, there's large or small, in person, remote, hybrid, right? There's different flavors. So I took the sticky notes and I said, okay, so for, let's say, what is pink? Panels. So what's a small panel look like remote? What does a large panel look like remote? What does a small panel in person look like? What does a small panel in person look like? Small and large hybrid for panels. And then I took a look and I basically just scored them. So I took this sticky notes and I said, well, if it's a small remote panel, it's probably low with regards to technology needs, right? And it's probably low with regards to facilitation. If you were looking at a large one, you might need more technology, but you probably wouldn't need more facilitator support, right, for that sort of thing. Maybe they're actually more like here. And I just went through this exercise, right? And this is something you can do with ideas. You know, if you're looking at how do we fix a problem or whatever, you write down your ideas and you say high impact, low effort. I just scored them on how much technology do you think you're gonna need, and then how much facilitation support do you think you're gonna need. I ended up getting a scatter shot of what the results were, and I started thinking about, well, then what are the things that you need in order to make those things happen? So this is what it looks like ultimately in the end. A large hybrid session, like what we're doing right now, is the most difficult in terms of technological prep and the most difficult in terms of the amount of facilitator support that we need. I've got three co-hosts, Stewart, Chris, thank you, Darcy. I've got Isaac, who is added to our team late, and then I've got two folks who are microphone runners, and then I've got two folks in the tech room up here. You're not always gonna have all of that, right? You might have fewer resources. So when you're thinking about how to make all of this happen, you need to think about what was said earlier, like who's doing timekeeping, who's doing watching the chat, who's doing keeping an eye on the microphones. Like if you can at least have a delegate for some of the things that need to happen, you're gonna be a lot better off. And then what I did after that was I started saying, well, what things can you do? So if you had a small in-person meeting, for example, and it's low technology, low facilitation, I wrote some notes, some thoughts. It can be pencil and paper, right? It can be completed without much prep, maybe a couple nudges in the conversation, that sort of thing. As it gets higher, let's go into a middle. So let's say a large remote session. So now everyone's remote, everyone's in Zoom, but there's like 60 people in it. Great, in terms of technology, you need to incorporate a digital meeting space, right? You have to have that. You need to have you should have some sort of digital tool. You should use familiar things like polls. Those are probably okay. In terms of how your facilitation is going to roll up, you're going to want an agenda. You're going to want to make sure somebody's managing the flow of the conversation. You're going to have some form of rehearsal, maybe not a lot, right? What we did today, and let's see if we actually did this, if I followed my own guidance. Agenda required, check. Run of show, strongly recommended. I didn't do a formal run of show with like timings and things, but we definitely went through and checked, make sure our timings were okay. Co-facilitators assigned to manage flow of conversation. Another for timekeeping. Do we have our timekeeper? Thank you. and it could be thought of, another person maybe to be thought of as a stage manager. Several opportunities taken for rehearsal and planning, check, because we had a few meetings before this, as well as we met in this room for about an hour beforehand. In terms of technology, must incorporate a digital meeting space, Zoom, thank you. Digital tools required for documentation and engagement, we brought to you Lucid Spark. Getting creative with the tools, with the limits, and carefully design the activities. So you don't want to just think, oh, this is going to be a great activity, but then not actually sort of play test it and tinker in there. Making sure you have a room with microphones, a soundboard, thank you folks in the room, and if possible, dynamic cameras. We have cameras. I don't know if they were following me around or not during the presentation. If they were, that's pretty cool. If not, I apologize. But yeah, so you're welcome to take a look at this. This board is the, what is it? It's the activity number 2 on here. You don't have to, I won't ask folks to go in and do this now, but I did create an additional space to the right of it. So if I zoom out. So to the left is the one that I went through and scored. To the right is the one that you're all welcome to go in and tinker with. And if you think of extra things, extra tools or tips that you'd like to add in there in terms of how you can prep with regards to facilitation or technology, I would love to see what you come up with. So that's it for us. As far as I'm aware, I'll give one more beat. If anyone wants to ask any remaining questions first in the room, next in the Zoom. You're all tech people, right? I need some help. I was trying to download the Titanic soundtrack, and it kept giving me a syncing error. Does anybody know? I did promise dad jokes if nobody responded. So there you go. I heard some groans. I don't know if those groans came from the room or if like they came from the Zoom. People in Florida, I can hear them groaning. All right, we will remain here. Thank you all for joining us today. It's been lovely. It's been scary as all outdoors, but I'm glad it's over and now the pressure's on other presenters. So have a great conference, everyone.
Thanks again for